What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 career mode, episode number 45 today for the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 3. No upgrades to unfortunately talk about at the very start of this episode, but we are going to talk about the engine components for a second. We haven't really shown you guys too much of the engine components so far this season. Pretty much it's been a bog standard case of just using components 1 and then components 2, but you can see clearly at the moment we've got a bit of an issue with the MGUK. Now, that will obviously be to the fact that I've been using a lot of rich mix in the races, which although is going to help us quite a bit actually in Russia. It definitely did help us out to gain that really great position. If you didn't see the episode, by the way, uploaded yesterday, be sure to go check that one out before you see the rest of this one. But obviously that's going to help out, but the hindsight is that obviously it's going to wear out that MGUK component, which in the description it does say that it gets directly affected by the rich mix. So the only way I can really combat that is obviously maybe having to deal with some reliability issues. I don't really want to be focusing on upgrading the reliability of the MGUK at this point in time, because I'm solely focused on the performance of the car. As I mentioned, you know, a large part of Season 2, half of Season 2 indeed, we were doing so many reliability upgrades that I just don't fancy and feel like doing any at this point in Season 3. I just want to focus on the performance. And of course, from last time out, talking about the next upgrade we're going to go for, which is going to be the drag reduction, the major one, which costs 1,500. I just can't afford to waste points, as it were, on reliability upgrades if we're saving for 1,500 points for the next major upgrade. So that's how things are rolling with the engine, but I saw a few comments that saying what was actually happening with that and what was happening with my management there. But so pretty bog standard for the first 4 episodes, as you would imagine. I think in general this season, of course, because we've got 3 internal combustion engine upgrades for the reliability, I think it'll be a lot later in the season that we actually start talking about potentially taking a penalty at some point for extra components. So we're going to move swiftly then into Q1. In our Q1 lap time, you can see on the soft tyres, obviously not going to be much of an issue to get around Spain pretty damn fast. Last time out in Season 2, the car was very, very decent, and once again you can clearly see myself and Nico performing very, very closely indeed, which is obviously kind of as you would expect at Catalonia. The thought is it's a very mechanical track. Obviously they do pre-season testing here, so it's not kind of untoward to kind of see 2x2 kind of Noah's Ark kind of starting grids here at Spain. So good signs there, but in Q2 maybe a different story. Maybe for us, I don't know about Nico, but we're starting on the medium tyres. You can see the white wall tyres, and we're once again going to try this Q2 strategy, although it won't actually make much of a difference here in Spain, because like Russia, unfortunately, the strategy, because of the tyre wear here at Spain, it's basically the complete opposite of Russia. The tyre wear is so high that there's no way you can make a one-stop work. You have to do a two-stop, whereas obviously in Russia there's only a one-stop available. No one else is really going to try a two-stop, so it won't matter too much for us in the end. But we do qualify on the medium tyres. We do get into Q3. Unfortunately, Nico is unable to get into it, which I was very surprised about, because in Season 2 he managed it. So this season, I don't know, it looks like the Toro Rosso and the Force Indy cars have maybe stepped up a little bit more compared to what they did last time out, last year here at Spain. And so Nico just about managed to get squeezed out of Q2. So that was really unfortunate. I was looking forward to both of us being up there and having a strong race, because we didn't really have the same thing. The same thing couldn't be said in Russia, where Nico was a little bit down the order in that race, whereas we're kind of battling for P4, as it were, at the end of that race. So we move into our Q3 lap time, then obviously onto the soft tyres now, and just going for it as fast as we can, and ends up not being the best lap time, really. You can see locking up a little bit through the last chicane, not as fast as I could have been. As we come across the line, you can see the lap time itself isn't too great on the top right there, so we go for a second flying lap at the moment. I think that was Lewis Hamilton setting the provisional pole position, and you can see it definitely wasn't a great lap, because we're behind one of the Toro Rosso cars, and the Toro Rosso in the pecking order, I think, is the 3rd worst car now at the moment, just ahead of McLaren and Sauber, so definitely not good enough. And we get knocked down to P10 then, as the 2 Force Indians finally pick up their pace, but we do come across the line, picking up a lot of time in Sector 1 and Sector 2, and we're up into P7, so best of the rest there, best we could have hoped for, obviously behind the 2 Red Bull cars, and then it's a checkerboard there with the Mercedes and Ferrari, with Sebastian Vettel getting pole position, then in the end actually snatches it away. And for me, it's actually surprising not to see the Williams feature. Of course, in real life, you wouldn't imagine maybe the Williams goes too well around Spain, being very aerodynamically dependent, and the Williams not being so much, but obviously in the game, they're very, very decent. They're still the 4th best team, technically, and last season, they went very well indeed. I think Massa ended up getting best of the rest in P6 after Red Bull had a bit of an issue, I think it was, in Season 2, or it might have been P7, but he was quite up there, so surprising not to see Massa Massa at least there. Obviously, Stroll's AI may be down the order. So all in all, yeah, I can't complain too much, but definitely going to be a bit tricky, as I mentioned, with the lack of the one stop available to us. I'm not too sure what we're actually going to do, because we are going to have to start on the medium tyres. So it's not really going to end up being too much of an advantage, to be honest. It's going to be the same as if we started on a set of soft tyres. The only advantage really would be maybe we're a little bit faster towards the end of the Grand Prix on lower fuel. By the way, let's look at the full grid then, and then we'll get into the race.
Well then, after an exciting qualifying session yesterday, let's take a look at how the cars line up. Sebastian Vettel has a clear track ahead of him today. He starts in pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Räikkönen, Bottas, Daniel Ricciardo, and Verstappen, Renault, Perez, Ocon, and Daniel Kvyat, Hülkenberg, Massa, Carlos Sainz, and Grosjean, Magnussen, Stroll, Fernando Alonso, and Stoffel van Dorn, Ericsson, and Pascal Wehrlein completes the grid. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Right, so let's get into this race then. You can see all sunny skies, and as we look at the weather indicator, there's going to be no chance of rain there, so that's going to be meaning that the race strategy ends up being pretty bog standard for everyone. For us, we're going to do a little bit of shuffling around. Initially, it did have us on the medium to soft to then hard tyres. We're going to go for mediums, hard and soft, so we're going to be on the fastest tyre at the end on the lowest fuel possible. Again, fueling up quite a bit there to use plenty of rich mix in the race. But let's get into this then. The 5th round of Season 3 as we go to 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix. 5 red lights are out and we're underway, and it is a good start for us and a really poor one for Daniel Ricciardo, and an equally good one for Max Verstappen there on the right hand side. We tuck in into his slipstream, and it's a good one also for, I think, one of the Force India's Esteban Ocon tries to make a move on Ricciardo as it's 3 wide between Kimi Räikkönen, Bottas and Hamilton as Vettel streaks away off in the distance. We're up into P5 there. A little bit of contact made with Max Verstappen on the right hand side, but we've got that place, and you can see the distance that Vettel's already got, very, very much like his 2013 era there, bolting away as these 3 ahead of us scrapped away into turns 1 and 2. It's Hamilton leading from Bottas, then Raikkonen, so the 2 Finns line astern, but we're actually pretty damn close to Raikkonen still and keeping up with him, and we're actually in this little train with the 2 Red Bull cars, so at the moment, promising signs. We're still in standard mixture. I used rich mix initially as we went up into the run to turn 1. You can see through the high-speed chicane, actually keeping up with Raikkonen, but then a bit of a different story through the final chicane to end out the lap as we go through the final corner. Raikkonen and Bottas streak away from us as Sebastian Vettel crosses the line to set the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so he's going very well indeed. You can see in the mini-map there, the gap to Hamilton is pretty much now the same gap as Hamilton has to Bottas, and Bottas going so slowly, in fact, that Raikkonen now gets enough slipstream to go down the inside to make a move. Bottas has gone wide, and we actually get right up his gearbox. We have to lift off a little bit, otherwise we would have slammed into the back of the gearbox of Valtteri, so that was actually really annoying, because I had a hunch, for a split second that I maybe could have overtaken Bottas. Perhaps if I got a better racing line into turn 1, went a bit tighter, and saw that and preempted that Bottas was going to go that wide and would have slowed down that much, I could have maybe actually got him, as we could have maybe had a line around the outside for turn 2, but not the case. Unfortunately, had to lift off to stop us making a crash, so unfortunately we're still in P5, and Bottas is we've lost the same amount of time to Bottas as Bottas has lost to Raikkonen now, and you can see Ricciardo is right in our mirrors now with the proximity arrow there doubling up as we go through the final corner now on towards lap 3. This will be as Hamilton now sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, so he's going to be chasing down Sebastian Vettel for the lead of this race, but here comes Ricciardo then on towards lap 3. No DRS yet, just pure slipstream now, and he's moved out, but he's going to try and make a move down the inside. We're going to have to try and hang it to the outside. It'll turn to the inside for turn 2. A little bit of contacts made there, but Ricciardo's got the better line for turn 3, and there's a bit of brake checking there from Ricciardo as he cuts across us. We do a bit of a switchback line on him though. We go to the inside of the racing line. We'll be a bit compromised into this next turn, the end of sector 1. There's been contact. We're sideways a little bit. We just managed to control the car, and we're trying our best to hang around the outside then, but Ricciardo shoves us off a little bit, and now Verstappen sends it down the inside, so we're being bullied a little bit by the 2 Red Bull guys. Not a very comfortable place to be, and now we're in a bit of a Red Bull sandwich here. Very, very bad place to be, as Verstappen just cheekily tried to make the pass there, and if I hadn't closed the door, we definitely would have lost 2 places in the span of 1 corner, and you can see going wide a little bit with gravel on my left tyre. That's definitely not going to help me out with DRS open to try and aid us to keep up with Ricciardo, but as we move on to lap 4, you can see even with DRS now and rich mix, I just don't have enough speed to close up to Ricciardo as he gained way too much in the final corner, so Really frustrating there, basically being harried and hustled out that position, and we're down to P6 now, having to defend from Verstappen. Of course, though, I will admit, because Ricciardo's on the soft tyres, that's not all bad news. It could just be the tyre difference there, as Verstappen's on mediums, and for now, we are keeping him honest, so it may just be the tyre difference there, medium to soft, which, as I said earlier, kind of begs the question of was it even worth us qualifying on the medium tyres? But you can see as we move through lap 6, the Sauber stricken there in sector 3, very, very close to the track there. So surprised there's not been a safety car called out, actually, because that could have been a nasty crash for not only us, but maybe another AI car. As we move on to lap 7, up into Rich Mix to try and defend from Verstappen. He'll have DRS, obviously. I do not, because I don't have a car ahead of me within 1 second. But you can see with Rich Mix, the Renault engine in the back of our Renault, able to keep ahead of the Renault-powered Red Bull of Verstappen for now. As we move into lap 9 now, up into P1. Everyone else has made their pit stop ahead of us. We're continuing on. Surprisingly, to my surprise, Verstappen actually pit in on that lap on medium tyres. So he's gone 3 laps earlier than I was planning to. As my default strategy says lap 11, I actually ended up coming in 1 lap earlier than my default onto lap 10, because I kind of got forced into it by Verstappen pitting earlier. It kind of got me thinking, okay, maybe Verstappen and the Red Bull team know something that I don't. Maybe I should be coming a little bit earlier to get a bit of an undercut. You know, everyone's going to be getting, obviously, a little bit faster on the fresher tyres, lower fuel on their second stint. However, though, as we pull into our pit box, you can see the team are a little bit delayed to get going on my car, and that's actually been because I believe Nico Hülkenberg came in on that same lap previously. He's so down the order. I think he must have had an accident in the first opening laps that he pit that lap earlier than me, and the team was still recovering from his pit stop, as it were, on the game. Obviously, if your teammate comes in, the pit crew have a little bit of this animation of recovery time before they start working on your car, and that's what I hit, unfortunately. And you would have seen also, I kind of got a little bit flustered and delayed with the clutch release on the pit stop. So that does mean, as you can clearly see on your screen, Verstappen is ahead of us now, and as we move a few laps later, Verstappen actually gets a move on in quite a hurry. He's on a second set of medium tyres, which is quite surprising indeed. So it means Verstappen's going for a very aggressive strategy this afternoon, and he goes down the inside to overtake Sergio Perez, I think this is, very easily indeed. And you can see how far I am away now, and that's very frustrating, because if it had not been for that little animation hold, if I maybe came in on the next lap like I originally was planning to, a lap 11, I could have maybe been still ahead of Verstappen, and then I could have maybe held him up a little bit in this race. But you know, that's just how the cookie crumbled there. But as we move on now to a kind of action between the top runners, Hamilton now going for a move for the race lead, that is, to overtake Kimi Räikkönen. So indeed, Vettel lost the race lead to both Hamilton and Räikkönen anyway, and he finds himself in P3 from what looked like quite a dominant first opening stint there. So something must have really gone wrong for Vettel then. And then on the next lap, Hamilton comes in, Räikkönen continues on, and it's going to be Hamilton and Vettel in on the same lap, and the two Finns stay out on the same lap as each other. So interesting to see a bit of kind of yo-yoing effect between the two Ferraris and at least one Mercedes for Hamilton, just like in real life. Bottas at the moment not performing too well in this career mode race at the Spanish Grand Prix. But now on the next lap, Räikkönen in. We cut later to the end of their pit stop, and you can see Räikkönen actually ends up re-jumping Hamilton there. So the overcut works for Räikkönen, and he gets out ahead of Hamilton, and it's a checkerboard once again with the Ferrari, Mercedes, and then Ferrari combo with Bottas still there in P4. But Räikkönen back in the lead this Grand Prix and sticking it to Vettel after what looked like a very strong first stint. But we move on to lap 14 then. You can see green lap time there, that was for us on the top right, and another green lap time as we move on to lap 16, ever closing on Sergio Perez and just pushing as hard as we can. And obviously at this stage now, his medium tyres would be starting to wear out to the point where my hard tyres end up starting to be a little bit faster than those warm mediums. So we are closing in just about if we can get in that DRS zone, and then that will be crucial for us to get the slipstream and rich mix going. But unfortunately, as we move on to the next lap, lap 17, you can see the gap to Perez has actually pretty much stayed the same, if not grown actually, and Ricciardo is the one who's right up our gearbox. He's made an extra pit stop in this race, I believe. I think he's on a 3 stop, it looks like to me. He's on the soft tyres on lap 17, so that would suggest he's on a more aggressive strategy than the rest of us. And now he's going to make a move with DRS open. I've got rich mix on this entire time because I've been chasing down Perez, and Ricciardo is still able to get us there in a straight line. I break a little bit early because pretty much I kind of get a little bit upset and kind of give up with the place, because I just know Ricciardo has got the pace on me. Through the third corner, you can clearly see it, the pace difference from the tyre, from the car, and this was a low point for me in the race, just realizing I just didn't even have the pace maybe to even catch Perez, and my hope was maybe Ricciardo could catch Perez and I could maybe use that to my advantage. If, you know, Ricciardo holds up Perez whilst he overtakes him, I could close up and sneak in, but then through the next few corners, losing grip, and by the time we move on to lap 21, I'm pretty much in no man's land. So very, very tough times here at the Spanish Grand Prix for me in the cockpit of this Renault car, but we move through yellow flags, and Kimi Räikkönen is out of this race. Can you believe it, guys? That is going to be, I think, his fourth retirement, or fourth piece of bad luck. Third retirement, but fourth piece of bad luck in this season so far. Of course, he retired twice on the trot at the Chinese Grand Prix, Bahrain Grand Prix, had the bad luck with the front wing off at the Russian Grand Prix last time out, and now it's going to be a third retirement in this season. Oh, God. You guys, I think some of you guys were already getting quite annoyed with Raikkonen's luck. Well, prepare to be a bit more annoyed, really. It's going to be quite interesting to see your guys' reactions in the comments to this. So, yeah, for the third time this season, Raikkonen parks up there with a failure of some sort. I can't tell what it is from here outside looking at that Ferrari car, but he's going to be proper pissed off there in that Ferrari, and I don't know, will that spell maybe a divorce for him and Ferrari soon? I don't know whose fault it would be. Maybe he's mismanaging the car. Who knows, but as I said previously, you never know. We've got that mid-season contract offer maybe coming from us, and if we do a good enough job, maybe Ferrari come knocking at the British Grand Prix. Who knows, just keeping you guys on your toes, teasing you there with what might happen later on this season. I just don't know at this stage, but we're on to lap 25 now, and we've made our final pit stop of the race onto a set of soft tyres. We come out behind Romain Grosjean, so just like season 2, we may be fighting Romain Grosjean in the Spanish Grand Prix, because now we've got the rest of the race, 8 laps left, to try and push like an absolute madman to try and catch up to that Frenchman in the Haas. And whilst we do that, Ricciardo is going to go for a move on his teammate Max Verstappen. DRS wide open here, moves to the right-hand side of the circuit. He's going to move back to the racing line even before the braking begins, and Verstappen has to concede that position. Verstappen on a very unorthodox medium, and hard compound strategy there, so he didn't even end up using the soft tyres this entire race, so which is quite surprising, but a very weird, unorthodox strategy, and in the end, Ricciardo's more aggressive strategy actually works out for him there. I think Ricciardo does end up doing a 3-stop in this race. I can't quite tell. We'll have to see right at the end, but we do close up anyway, back to our POV. Speaking about back to us, we've closed up to Romain Grosjean now on lap 28, so it's taken us 3 laps then to catch up to him, so not too bad actually. That's some pretty decent pace actually to only take 3 laps to close up with DRS. Rich mix as well. You can see we just didn't have enough speed to make a move into turn 1, and then into sector 1, into the end of sector 1 onto sector 2. You can see just can't get close enough, and the dirty air starts to kick in, so this may be a bit of a frustrating lap for us, and it may be kind of a 2017-esque sort of kind of move where we have to just be patient and just kind of wait for the opportunity to come with DRS. Perhaps as we climb up the hill now, the high-speed chicane, we could get something done here as we go up to the right-hander, lift off a tad, then plant the power down as early as we can do and dare, but we can, oh god, a bit of a huge wiggle on the exit there as we opened DRS as early as we dared, and that was a bit too early for the Renault, and they upset the car there, so I'm actually quite surprised we didn't chuck it into a barrier and into a wall. That would have been a really nasty end to the race with only 5 laps to go, and so through sector 3, trying to recompose ourselves, because a move like that could definitely put you off for the rest of the lap. So now we close up quite a bit into the last chicane, right up his gearbox now as we go through the final corner opposite lock, and now climb up the gears. We have DRS, and this time you must say we're a lot closer, opening up the DRS, and we're in rich mix in the tow, and it's just about being patient now. We are gaining and gaining, but we are actually running out of road here as we go right up his gearbox, move to the right at last minute, go down the inside into turn 1 for P7 in the Grand Prix, to the outside for turn 2, and we do go a tiny bit off circuit, but we do make that work. Little dip of the right hand side tyre on the little rumble strip there, and the same can be said on the left hand side of the exit, but we do make that move up into P7, and that was a very nice, satisfying move after chasing Grosjean down for 3 laps there to actually just make the move. Nice, neat, pounce down the inside, nice stuff. And we move on to a little bit of a tidbit in this race of Nico Hülkenberg. Bit of an interesting situation. He's behind a McLaren Honda now. I don't know what on earth has happened in this race. I hope to God he is spun or had an accident, because he gets lapped by Daniel Ricciardo here, and he's going to be genuinely finishing behind at least one of the McLaren Hondas this afternoon. So I really hope he had an accident, but Hulkenberg, complete letdown of a teammate this afternoon at Spain, is we're going to be the only points-paying Renault, and it's only going to be P7 for us today. I say only P7. Technically, we have improved on what we did last season. Last season, Season 2, we finished P8, so we have actually improved there, but P7 is a little bit frustrating after obviously having such a great one last time out the Russian Grand Prix, finishing P4. But Sebastian Vettel actually ended up winning that Grand Prix, even though he was third. Obviously got promoted up to second, but Hamilton would have been leading that race after Raikkonen retired. So good stuff there for Vettel and Ferrari for him to re-overtake Hamilton somewhere in that last stint to get the win for Scuderia Ferrari. But it is going to be a double podium for Mercedes, so they're going to still extend their constructors, I would imagine there. So at the moment, still very much Mercedes' season, but looks like Vettel this time is the Ferrari getting all the luck. Obviously, he got very, very unlucky, I would say, in my opinion at least, in Season 2. So looks like he's the one getting all the luck this time round in the prancing horse. But as we look at the race results, as I mentioned, yeah, comparing the race results from this season to last season, you would say P7's maybe annoying for us to get, but actually, if you compare the actual race time that I completed the Spanish Grand Prix from Season 2 to Season 3, it ended up being faster. So even though in the middle of that race, when Ricciardo overtook me to then go after Sergio Perez, and I mentioned it was kind of a bit kind of deflating for me to have that and kind of just be on myself in no man's land on that hard tire stint, and the race in general felt like a slower race than it did in Season 2, I actually ended up being faster than it was last season, which obviously you would imagine because we've done about, you know, X amount of upgrades to the car, but it just still felt very deflating. But that was because obviously all the AI around us have also upgraded. So yeah, a bit of a weird race for me mentally in terms of where I think the car is and for my morale for the team. So I'm not going to lie, it's a low moment at the moment. I'm hoping that at the Monaco Grand Prix we can really bounce back and that will chirp up my spirits of the Renault team, basically. But one last little bit of annoyance in this episode was you can see how close we are from 1,500 points. Literally 25 points, and we could have purchased the drag reduction upgrade this episode. So frustrating, and it means we're going to have to wait till the Monaco Grand Prix, probably after practice, to buy that upgrade. So, that's, yeah, this game in its R&D is definitely testing me at the moment in Season 3, but, yeah, them's the breaks, that's how it works. So, we'll plow on, and we'll move on to the Monaco Grand Prix in higher spirits, hopefully. We know that can definitely be a better Grand Prix. So, guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, smash that button, let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new out here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava, hope you enjoyed the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.